Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Kilrodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon by doing something Disney related, of course. So basically, I'm doing one of these other videos where I've been doing a response to a podcast kind of thing that was done by by whoever, I guess you could say. Of course, again, the discussion is centered around, Disney princesses. The whole idea that the princess movies from 1990s and upward are more progressive compared to those that came out before. Yeah, we're doing this whole shit again. So, but without further ado, so here we go, guys. Ugh, same old, same old, same old. Because these movies, well, certain Disney movies were made during a certain period of time doesn't necessarily mean they're racist or homophobic or sexist or whatever else you can think of. Despite the different time period and whatnot. Just because the Disney princesses films have changed to a certain extent doesn't necessarily make them better either. So, whatever. Same old, same old. With that being said, let's just get into it, I guess.
Everyone knows the Disney princess, the magical, kind, courageous, and most of all beautiful girl who embodies American values that we hold for young girls.
They don't necessarily have to be American to be considered good. Not that there's anything wrong with being an American, don't get me wrong. Yes, despite what Donald Trump and his group of friends have done. Don't get me wrong. But okay, I'm just my point being you don't necessarily have to be American to have some great high value or anything. I like this country, I know, but I'm just saying.
The Disney princess first came into the public's attention in December of 1937 when Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs premiered. At the time of its release, the film grossed almost $200 million in the box office.
Well, folks, she got that wrong because it actually made, yes, quite a bit of money during its original release and became one of the highest grossing animated films at that time. And yeah, so about that. But then the film, of course, due to its popularity, it was later re-released much later, which it did. It was released, of course, in the 1980s, where it made even more money compared to its original release. So, yeah, about that. And so, yeah, it definitely made more than its a budget, because with a budget was like something like this. So, yeah, it made much more than it originally did. So, of course, the popularity of this film, again, had it re-released many times, until the home video release in the 1990s. So, adjusted for its inflation, it became one of the top 10 performers at the North American box office and the highest grossing animated film. So, worldwide, again adjusting from inflation, earnings topped one of the animated films of all time when it comes to making a lot of money.
Following that came a cultural phenomenon which was completely unprecedented. However, the term Disney princess was not coined until the early 2000s.
I want to have to disagree with you on that. While their intent wasn't to create a Disney franchise and princesses, but it led to that with more success like Sleeping Beauty and of course the original Cinderella, which were all highly successful. And Alice in Wonderland, Alice was considered as a princess at some point. Same with Tinkerbell. Not anymore, but so yeah, there you go. So anyway, yeah.
There were 4 requirements to be included in the Disney Princess franchise, according to Disney. They must have a primary role in a Disney Pixar film, they must be human or human-like, they should not have been introduced in a sequel, and the character should have been royal, married royal, or has performed an act of heroism, like Mulan or Moana.
Necessarily have to be a part of Pixar, really. Look at the original Beauty and the Beast, or even the original Aladdin. None of these films were part of the Pixar stuff up until later, sure, but I'm counting those as princess movies anyway, nonetheless. Yes, and there's the whole thing with the Enchanted, if you want to count her. And some people, Meg, the one character, some people say she's a princess, and Jane as well. So, yeah, what about them?
The first 8 characters under the Disney Princess franchise were Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, and Mulan, but the list is ever growing to include 12 princesses to date.
One from the Princess of Frog, and oh yeah, the one from Brave, of course, and also the one from the first Frozen film, Anna. And let's not forget about Rapunzel from, Tangled.
As the franchise grew and developed, so did the box office.
Yeah, it's called marketing. It's like a popular thing, so of course they going to want to make more of it. At some point, look at Star Wars. That became an expected success. So of course they made more and more, and then more and more, plus more and more. If anything, they were actually planning to make even more. Yeah.
Frozen, at the time of its release in 2013, grossed $1.3 billion.
I hate to correct you on this again, but it made more than what you're saying here. A lot more. And this movie became such a financial and critical success that this movie stayed in the movie theaters for a month and a half. So, of course, I'm not even counting the money that it made from merchandising like clothes and anything else like that, or the dolls, the toys, video games, or anything else. I'm not even counting the money that was made from, the home release sales, or even the used market. I'm not even counting those sales. Because if you're going to add that number, it's going to be a lot bigger as well. So, yeah, maybe you should check what double check your facts before actually recording anything. Maybe next time you should do that. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be mean-spirited here or anything, but I'm just trying to, point that out. So, point being, the number's a lot more than what you're saying. That's all. But okay, yada yada. Go on.
Which is the 14th highest grossing film of all time, amongst titles like Harry Potter and The Avengers. And despite the 82 years since the first Disney Princess movie was released, the franchise has continued to stay wildly popular.
The old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So of course it still remains really popular.
But do Disney princesses uphold more modern-day values of society?
Listen to what I just said earlier. Come on, lady. Just because something's old and made from a specific time doesn't mean it's bigoted, Come on.
We hit the streets of New York City to investigate the question: are Disney princesses good role models?
That sounds like you made that up. So you mean to tell me, like newspapers like Wall Street or whatever else, or the New York Times, you're literally gonna walk up to them and walk to people in New York City and ask these questions individually to every citizen? Seems like a waste of time.
My favorite Disney princess is Rapunzel because she's very adventurous.
She's gonna pick a little girl, show female empowerment, and of course a young little kid. That seems highly manipulative. And again, it goes into what I just said earlier. Of course, you're going to pick up something that came out from the 1990s and upward. Even though, yes, I know they realize it came out in the 2000s, but still pretty my point. Of course, you're going to specifically pick a princess movie that came out from the 1990s and upward. Because often the Disney princess movies from before that period of time were viewed as sexist. Which, yes, I do have to disagree with that. They're just from a different time period. That is all. You ever would stop someone like Kevin Swanson, whom is clearly sexist and homophobic, but that's besides the point. And, I mean, some people dismiss, he just practicing with his religion. Turn around and claim that the original princess line from, before the 1990s and claim that those are sexist. They're not, but okay, it seems like you're cherry picking.
Funny, and she's outgoing.
I like Jasmine and Tiana because they just do whatever they want.
Terribly vague. I don't trust a kid's opinion anyway because they can't really review things well anyway, but okay.
From Beauty and the Beast, does she count as a princess? Because I think she's a terrific character. I love that she reads.
Again, picking something from the 1990s, and that was when Beauty and the Beast came out, the original one, from the 1990s. Just because something is much older doesn't mean it's, bigoted, And this kind of reminds me of Alicia Keys. Okay, first of all, don't tell me what to do. And second of all is that she enforced her fans to tell their families to not buy anything princess related prior to that time period, which is stupid. Guy. Again, a religious person. He's really, really, really homophobic But again, that's besides the point because this guy is really sexist. He wants to control women, and because I guess he wants men to be more dominant. I don't see any of you saying anything about that smuck. So, come on, you're just picking at Disney just because it's Disney. Oh boy, this is just ridiculous if you ask me. Give me a break right here. Yeah, I'm defending Disney. Whoop-de-doo.
Mulan is just like the ultimate badass.
Hey, how? I'm not gonna know the answer because that's all you said. And how do you measure that anyway? But I'm really trying my best here not to not repeat myself here because I'm starting to sound really repetitive with these videos. But again, they're picking something from the 1990s and nothing prior it. And I mean, I'm not saying this is a bad movie because it's not. It's actually pretty good. But again, there's no explanation to anything. Just really, really, really vague stuff.
Rapunzel, of course. Like, I feel like I've been caged in, you know. And like, I'm just trying to let down my hair.
Alright, that kind of provided a bit more information compared to the others. So, it's like he just took this as a metaphor because he was able to have an adventure around the world. So, that's kind of something, but it's still a bit vague. I mean, again, I'm not saying this is a bad movie. I actually like it quite a lot myself. It's a good one. But again, a lot of these fall to the same category. Vague, vague, vague. And those from the 1990s and upward.
Elsa. Even though she's technically a queen, is that I feel like the princesses are always need a man. Like they always somehow need someone to help them.
Can you, like, shut up?
Cinderella herself, technically speaking, didn't wait for a man. She didn't do anything with Prince Charming until like much, much later towards the end of the movie. He mostly focused on how she was mistreated by the stepmother and the stepsisters, really. To the other queens that Disney had made, Elsa would be the first one to actually use powers. So, yeah.
Bye. Elsa was like, no, I only need my family. I need my sister to help me get through. Like, I don't need no other man.
The lie detector test determined that was a lie.
During the song, the first time in forever, music, she mentions that she could hook up with a man and fight the right one. What about that? Or when the fact that Kristoff was basically helping Anna to escape from this monster snowman thing and basically trying to risk his own life to help her out. Oh, the part, well, let me see what else. Oh, yeah. The father character realizes that something has occurred and is running to help both sisters and whatnot. Or the part where the male troll wants to help Elsa. Or how about the part where, Hans was actually willing to help Anna in that one scene in the beginning of the film. Or what about that part where, okay, again, Kristoff was willing to help Anna when it comes to that one scene with the wolves, even though he could have been, severely injured. What about that? Or the one scene where, again, Kristoff introduces Anna to the love exploits. He didn't do it in a condescending way or anything. He didn't force her like a sexist moron to obey the man or whatever. And what about the part where, again, Kristoff risked his own life to help Anna? Did she ask him to do that? No. Any of this? No. None of this was really asked. Maybe helpful to do that one thing with Elsa to find her. That's about it, really. Point being, man or woman, just because somebody asks a man for assistance doesn't make the individual weak at all. Give me a break.
Probably Mulan, because she's strong.
Okay, let's say for the sake of an argument, I didn't see this movie. I clearly did, but let's say I didn't. That is a really vague explanation. Really vague. Okay, here's a few examples. Okay, how about the part where when she's disguised as a man, she doesn't hate any of them really, like at all, despite the fact that the bad guy is a guy and he's a crazy person because he's murdering people. But she doesn't hold all them responsible for that. Or the whole fact that she saved China and she gets blood praised for that. That's one. Also, she openly defied the government, the Chinese government at the time anyway, in order to save it. Bit of a cockeyed there, but whatever. And the fact that she brought the sword back to her father as a sign of being respectful and honorable, whatever. There you go. Some examples there. I mean, there's a lot more, of course. But there you go, some examples. Yeah, I did a much better job than what you did. Anyway, just go ahead, go on.
Tiana from Princess and the Frog, because she's the first ever black Disney princess.
Hate to break it to you, but being a certain color isn't in itself a character trait. There needs to be more to the character than the color of her skin. That's all. That's the only thing that makes a character great. It has to be more to the character. That's like saying, okay, the only great thing about this character is the fact that she's extremely tall. And that's about it. So, again, these things are really, really vague. It's like saying, okay, let's take Life is Strange Before the Storm for an example. Like, the only good qualities of these characters you can say is that the women, the bisexual or lesbian, and they have a relationship, and that's it. That seems way too superficial right there. I don't mind diversity, sure, but there has to be more to the character than just that, and good storytelling. There is going to be a series for the character, so I guess that should amount to something. There you go. That's a good thing there.
I also really like Tiana, but I'd have to say my favorite is probably Belle, just because she likes to read a lot, and I like to read a lot.
Again, like I just said with the other character, liking Belle just because she reads is so superficial. And there has to be more to the character than she likes reading books. She likes reading books. That's it. That's the only thing. I mean, they did attempt to expand the character in the remake, but it didn't help. That's still one of the worst remakes I've ever seen.
And it's nice to see a character that has similar interests to me.
She likes books. I like books. Therefore, a three-dimensional character. Yeah. Whatever you're doing here is terrible. Dragon Age Inquisition has a diverse class of characters. I don't see none of you praising that game for that. And also, the same thing can be said for the Mass Effect game. Again, I don't see any of you praising those games for that. So, yeah.
And I think she's really cool.
I feel like people tend to like the Disney princesses that they see themselves in, whether that be with their personality traits or their hobbies or their race and ethnicity.
You mean making them relatable? It depends how they're written, of course. And you can say the same thing for video game characters.
There are a lot of African American kids growing up, and Hispanic kids and Latino kids growing up, and there's a lot of Hispanic and African kids who are multiracial growing up, and they don't really have a lot of representation.
Saying the characters are from different countries isn't enough to make them three-dimensional characters. You need more than that. And I don't see you praising this character from the new trilogy at all. You complain about not enough diversity, but when there's diversity that is actually there, you don't do nothing about it. And just because the old Disney movies aren't doing what you want to do doesn't mean they're racist. Because all these characters are fair-skinned, it doesn't necessarily mean they're all from the same country. Why does it matter anyway? All I really care about is a good story and three-dimensional characters. That's what I'm saying. If you want to have diversity, sure, that'll make it even better. Just as long as you have a good story and three-dimensional characters.
Says white Disney princes have more.
And just because they're light-skinned, it doesn't necessarily mean they're Caucasian. How can you not know that? There's other people that have that light skin myself. Does that mean I'm Caucasian? Obviously not. So that's a big assumption there.
Adventures than Hispanic.
She spends half the movie as a frog, so that's not. I don't even really count that as showing black people on screen. Moana, she's dope.
Jesus, man, this has to be one of the dumbest conversations I've heard. But there has to be more to the character than the country that they're from. There has to be more to the character than their sexual orientation. There has to be more to the character than their gender identity. What is the character's belief system? What drives their action? What motivates them? What is their kind of behavior? This can be the more substance that could be a part of, I guess you can say. The main character isn't defined by their backstory or inner conflict, but rather the choices that they make when they're facing a more situation. You may have an angry enough character to smack somebody across the head, or maybe the character is short-tempered. But what about the characters that's morally gray? Want to do the right thing, but doing it in the wrong way?
she's dope, and she's so dark. Like, I have curly hair. I just want to see one princess with chunky hair, like curly hair. That could be like, yes, that's me. Woo! And we're about to get a Black Little Mermaid, bruh. Like, I'm so hyped.
It does seem quite self-defeating to some extent because they keep saying they want diversity, and what, that's it? But the thing is that, look at the Cinderella remake. It's a terrible movie. But this film was made in some ways as a response towards the criticism of the old film that, oh, it's sexist, when it really wasn't. So they're trying to make Cinderella come off like this strong-willed individual that doesn't want to be held back. So she goes all in town, all freely, whatever. This creates a giant plot hole when you think about it, because why did she keep coming back? I don't see anybody criticizing the Godzilla Gamma movies for having mostly Asians. It just comes off that they're already taking these original princess characters just because they're light-skinned. So it just comes off they're picking and choosing here.
For the next generations, they're gonna grow up being like, my Little Mermaid's black. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think that there's actually a couple of them that are like more like women focused and not about like having a man there.
Oh, again with that mess. Again, like I said earlier, it doesn't make you weak if you ask some sense from a man. But however, when a man doesn't want to help you out, you will call them a bunch of pigs. If anything, that makes you a big old hypocrite. So, I mean, I'm not saying that a woman can't be independent of some things, sure. But still, that's the only thing that can make it good if she's independent and that's it? Give me a break. Companies falling into these kind of demands. We end up with movies like the Charlie's Angels reboot, which was so bland and forgettable. Just the woman, and that's it. The woman. Oh, movies like the Men in Black reboot, they are diversity, like woman, and that's there is the character. It's her being a woman, really. Another insult is the Ghostbusters reboot, and just do the whole gender swap. Really bad. To be a reboot, we could see the Twilight movies, which were also awful. There's not much of these characters at all. I mean, they're made to cater to people like you. But then there's really morons like this. Yeah, this guy is conservative. He believes in the traditional ways of the Christian behavior, and he's really a bigot. So I don't see you or anyone else saying anything about these people like this. However, when they do have a strong female character who isn't Caucasian, like Blood for the Last Vampire, this movie disappears into obscurity. Hardly anyone knows about this movie, like hardly at all.
The original Disney films like Cinderella and Snow White and all them were like very blatantly sexist.
Not though. Snow White herself never depended on a man to rescue her. So you're lying. Again.
Like as time passed, Disney movies got way further from that.
Because it changed doesn't mean it's sexist. You're judging from today's values and compare it to yesteryears.
Oh, well, definitely they've changed because I guess Snow White, does she count as the princess too?
Really hurting my brain cells. Of course, each generation could have a different audience. That's perfectly fine.
She's the first, because that was the first animated feature, and of course her theme song is...
They never planned to make any more of these movies. Snow White was a surprise hit, so they thought, well, let's make more of these. That's it, really. When something is successful, they want to make a bunch of it. This is typical Hollywood tradition. And why do you think there's so many sequels, reboots, side stories, prequels, or whatever you call it, for certain franchises? Hollywood is known for making a bunch of these movies. If one thing's successful, of course, they're going to make a whole bunch more. This applies to the Disney princess movies. Obviously, the vast majority of popular movies are sequels. If something proves to be popular, of course, they're going to make a bunch of these type movies that's similar to what's popular. So, of course, they're going to make a sequel, then another, and another, then another, and another, and another, and another, and another, and another. That's how the Hollywood system works. This Hollywood system is about making money as much as it can and make as many of these movies as popular. So make as many of these movies as humanly possible. So yeah, that's Hollywood for you. Of course they're going to make as many of these type of movies. If there's one installment is popular, the first one, of course we'll make a bunch of others. It doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. But regardless, there's going to be a bunch of them. So many, whether it's planned or not. Now, for the case of Cinderella, it wasn't planned at all. They already had this one movie in mind, and that's it. And a lot of people didn't take them seriously when they made this movie. A lot of people took this as a joke. Because, at the time, making full-length films that's animated was unheard of. So when they made this into a movie and it was successful, it was unheard of. So they thought this worked. So of course they wanted to make a bunch of Disney princess movies. Duh. Of course, the video games are guilty of this too. The Call of Duty series, anybody? The Duke Nukem? Mass Effect? The most popular video games are franchises. So yeah, like I just said, they're guilty for doing the same thing. And besides, it's their product. They can make as many of these movies similar to that as they want. Just because you think it's sexist and racist doesn't mean it is.
Someday my prince will come, right?
I understand that Disney princess
Man, female, whatever, acts as sisters for a man doesn't necessarily make them weak. There's nothing wrong with their acting help.
movies, like they always have like help from someone.
Yeah, that's not inherently wrong either. It's perfectly normal to ask for help. People do that all the time.
But I think the person they're getting help from isn't the right person they should be getting help. One, you should be getting help from yourself.
Realistically speaking, you can't always help. You don't always have the know-how. Somebody always knows something that you don't. And that's life for you.
There's been a big change.
Because there's been a big change doesn't mean it's sexist or racist. All of you have not provided any evidence into anything. You just randomly guessing here. Tastes and style of music change. Does it mean the old music is sexist and racist? No. And compared to the other generations, millennials and Generation X are more likely to go to the nightclubs and such compared to the boomers. Does that mean the old stuff is sexist and racist? No. Okay, since I'm over 100 years old, you can tell I'm from the more silent generation. Of course, that's going to be different from the boomers. Point being, just because it changed doesn't necessarily mean the other thing is bad. And Air Force, well, let's just say he knew a couple of millennials who worked at a bar, and he liked them quite a bit. So there was that.
From back in the day, like, you know, like the early Disney princesses from like 1930s to like 1950s, it was all about them getting the man finding them.
Really, Sleeping Beauty features the Princess Aurora character. She never waited for her man to rescue her.
And then their lives got better.
So what? The vast majority of people want to see a happy ending, and that's what Disney gave them most of the time.
Instead of them actually taking it.
I know that some women, like how Cinderella was, she had to do the chores, and the men for Mulan had to like do all war stuff, and they didn't allow women.
It's on the context in Mulan. Yes, at that time, women were not allowed to be part of the army, which is why she had to disguise herself. Duh. So that doesn't mean the older Disney princesses are sexist. Compared to the original Cinderella, she was forced in this situation. It's not like she could get out or do anything else. She was forced to do chores and whatnot. She was basically a slave. Again, this does not mean that these stories are sexist. Give me a break here.
So nowadays, there are more princesses of color, but those of us whose ethnicities are not represented can still look up to the morals and values of role models in the media.
You haven't provided any evidence on how the old princesses are sexist or racist. What the hell? I think I'll just stop right there because when it comes to their podcast, it just keeps going, repeating the same thing over and over and over again without actually providing any evidence to back up their claims. So this video is already lengthy as it is, folks. And that's the thing, I don't necessarily mind making extremely lengthy videos, and this is already really lengthy as it is. And also, they keep regurgitating the same thing over and over again. This is a subject matter I brought up before in the previous princess movies already. The princess Okay, now maybe not the reviews themselves, but when I discussed, this kind of topic where the original Disney princess movies, more specifically the princess movies that came out prior to the 1990s, were supposedly sexist and racist, which they weren't. They just assumed that they were. Just because you think it is, doesn't mean it actually is. It just comes off that they're projecting. I mean, yes, they weren't all the only people. And that's another thing I was trying to say is that they were just coming off this, they were saying the same kind of thing that the previous people I've spoke about before, all over again. Just because a lot of people are saying the same thing, doesn't mean they're in the right. But yeah, folks, of course you can have diversity in a movie. You can have diversity in characters and whatnot. But there has to be more to it than just that. So this is my, I guess you can say, my counter argument against that kind of a thing. Yes, I still enjoy the old Disney princess movies, and I'm doing my best to not repeat myself either. I want to do my best to not repeat myself too much. Because, like I just mentioned, I've already discussed this kind of a thing already. And I'm honestly getting tired of seeing it over and over again. I stand by what I said. I do believe that the old Disney princess movies aren't sexist. They aren't racist. They're just assuming that it is. This comes off like they were going on the hate bandwagon just because a lot of people had already said it. Just because they said it, it does not mean they're in the correct. So it just comes off rather weird if you ask me. Racism can be expressed in a variety of ways. It doesn't have to be one single way. Not literally every female character that's in a movie has to be a fighter, has to be a soldier. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying that they don't have to be in one specific kind of way. Is all I'm saying. So of course, I mean, yes, there's women out there who hate men, but that doesn't mean all women gonna be the same way. I'm not disguising the fact that sexism exists, which unfortunately it does. Yes, there are men who hate women. Unfortunately, that is true. I'm not saying that there aren't any like that. Don't get me wrong. But my point being is that it doesn't have to be expressed in one specific way. And if anything, I do believe that a woman should be just the way she would act and whatnot. A woman should not be treated any different just because she's a woman, is what I'm saying. I'm all for gender equality and whatnot, fighting against gender stereotypes from both genders. I'm all for that. But having literally every single female character from every single princess movie and from every single movie in general, not every single one has to be a woman that shoots guns. Not every woman needs to be a warrior type character and whatnot. After a while, that's just going to become stale. If you have all the same characters playing all the same roles, it's just going to be really boring. You can have a variety of female characters and whatnot. Some of them can be cooks. Some of them can be bank holders. Some of them can be CEOs of a business. Some of them can be, I don't know, maybe working at a let me see what else. Let me see. Oh, like a Kmart or Walmart. Maybe have a female politician. Not every single female character needs to work in a battlefield kind of thing. Not every character needs to be like a fighter. You can express a strong female lead in various different ways. It doesn't always have to be physical, is what I'm saying. Again, after a while, it just get pretty boring if they're all kept in a bubble. Is what I'm saying. I thought feminism was supposed to be a range of social movements, political movements, and different ideas of what a woman is a woman to aim to define what the kind of thing they want to have, like interpersonal kind of stuff, to have various jobs and whatnot, which is fine, and that's perfectly okay. Tell from some point of view that both genders can actually work side by side, receive great education, equal pay, own property, and all that stuff, and having the right to vote, hold a public office, have a certain type of job, make a lot of money, and whatnot, have equal rights within a marriage, and whatnot. That's all fine. Having, to ensure to equal rights and whatnot, and protect women and from, assault, violence, and whatnot, and have its own dress standards, of course, and its own physical activities and whatnot. That's perfectly fine too. And you can do that. Why not? So I'm not saying you can't. To fight against what's considered to be the traditional type of gender kind of studies and whatnot. And yes, I still like the original Disney princess movies from way back in the day. I still really enjoy them. Does that mean I want women to be doormats? Of course not. God, I know some people just want to assume that, but whatever, I suppose. I do think women should be, having the same kind of rights like men do. Obviously. And when it comes to, equal pay or whatever, it depends on the skill set. Nobody should be paid more or less just because of their gender. They should be paid more or less depending on how good they are at that one thing they're supposed to be applying for. And yeah, that's not really a popular opinion, but then again, I'm running a YouTube channel that's not really having a lot of popular opinions to begin with. So what do I know, right? Whatever. But yeah, folks, I just want to make a statement about this kind of a thing. Yes, I'm defending the old Disney princesses, of course. But yeah, I like the old Disney princess movies. I really do. I really like Cinderella. Yeah, Cinderella, the original version, of course, not the remake. But then again, I hate all remakes anyway. But the original Disney version of Cinderella, I really like that one. I really do. So yeah, of course, I'm going to stick to the traditional films, of course. In some ways, I do miss the hand-drawn animation, which, of course, is like a whole other subject matter, of course. But when it comes to, being womanly, it should be expressed in a variety of ways, of course. To be feminine, to be graceful, to be, I guess, to show some sort of empathy or whatever, it should be expressed in more ways than one. At the end of the day, it should depend on how to make the character, how to write the character, make the character be three-dimensional. There should be more to the character than her gender. There should be more to the character than what's between her legs. Is what I'm saying. There should be more to the character than being more than just a baby factory. Is what I'm saying. And no matter how well your writing is, a story without three-dimensional characters can quickly fall flat. Yes, there's multiple techniques to add extra context to the characters, sure. But yeah, allow these characters to come off, genuine, of course. And yeah, don't limit your characters to be a certain set of behaviors. Like, okay, maybe the female character is shy. That doesn't mean she should always be shy. Same thing the other way around. Having an outspoken character woman doesn't always have to be, loud, but there can actually be more things to the character, obviously. Let the character be expressive. I mean, yes, of course, she can have these own characteristics, sure, adventurous, maybe some kind of way, sure, but they should be given a certain way to be able to explore different type of stuff, other than just being loud, other than just being, shy, timid, whatnot. Allow the character to explore other type of personalities, maybe she can grow some kind of way, and yeah, there's plenty of ways to make the character, some kind of three-dimensional way. You can use your character's physical appearance as a way to express her inner feelings. Like, she can grab her hair when she's nervous, or maybe bite her nails. Maybe there's a certain thing that she would do when she's nervous. You can use her physical body as a way to express nervousness some kind of way. Maybe she can pull her hair, like I said. Or maybe she would eat too much. I don't know. As always, thanks for watching, and take care. Until next time, folks. Later.